Welcome back to the Discount Property Investor Podcast. Our mission is to share what we have learned from our experience and the experience of others to help you make more money investing like a pro. We want to teach you how to create wealth by investing in real estate the Discount Property Investor way. To jumpstart your real estate investing career, visit freewholesalecourse.com, the most complete free course on wholesaling real estate ever. Thanks for tuning in.
Today, guys, we are going to be talking about how to pay a contractor, as well as how to estimate repairs on our properties. Mike, good morning to you, buddy. How are you?
Morning, Dave. Doing good, man. Doing good. Excited to get in and record again. And we're talking about one of my favorite things, writing checks to other people. Wait a minute.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, man, it hurts. It always hurts. But those contractors do good work for us a lot of times, and they deserve to get paid as well. So
That's right.
You want to do so in a way that is smart, right? We hear about a lot of people getting burned, a lot of new investors getting burned when, the contractor stole my money and didn't do the job right, yada, yada. And, man, it happens. It happens to even seasoned investors. We had, Dave, I think you were driving for dollars on the day that Dan came in, and he was talking about his huge deal that they had going on in the city. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars invested in this property, and contractor didn't do a good job, failed to perform. And he said, man, we're going back and forth. We got court case. I mean, it can turn into a nightmare. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. Your property's tied up. You can't sell it because it's not done. You don't have the money to finish it. This is a scary thing. So, yeah, I mean, there's definitely reason for concern or time to think about it.
I get a lot of people reaching out to me that say, I paid a contractor maybe, half or even all, and the contractor skipped town. What do I do? And I feel so bad for people because they're out that money, yet they need the work done still. Obviously, that's the most, obvious thing. But at the same time, I am happy to hear that people have made the leap and they've taken some risk to do these type of things and get into real estate, because that's really where freedom is at, by having, passive income that you don't have to work for. So there's two sides to every coin, right?
And making big checks if you're doing these flips.
That's another thing.
The market's going up, and flipping is, I hate to say it, but it's a pretty saturated market. It makes me a little nervous because there's just so many people that are getting into it and doing it and making money, which is an awesome thing. It's a great thing. But, the market is just, maybe we're at the top. Who knows? Maybe we're still going up for another 3 years. It's just tough to say. But, yeah, the contractor thing is very scary. My aunt actually reached out to me a few weeks ago, and she's wanting to redo her bathrooms. And she's like, hey, does this look fair? And she sent me a contract, or a proposal rather, from a rehabber or a remodeler, and said, hey, does this make sense? And I said, yeah, it looks pretty good. But it's difficult for new investors and homeowners to really determine what is good and what is fair. This contractor had payment plan. It was like, you're going to pay X up front, and you're going to pay for all materials. And then every 2 weeks, you'll make payments until it's finished. Well, what I said is, that's an interesting way to do it. And I understand where the contractor's coming from, but I don't want to just pay somebody every 2 weeks. I need a project milestone. I need to know that part of the project's getting completed so that I'm paying you for that. Because again, if they say, okay, I've signed this contract with somebody and I give them 50% up front, and then I have to pay them in another 3 weeks, and it doesn't say anything about progress on the project. That just, a timeline is very difficult, I think, for to really just put in a contract. So I'd be wary of that.
That's a good point.
And that's what I told her. I said I would want a project milestone, like the drywall and all the fixtures are installed, but the finish work isn't finished.
Correct.
So that's something like
something
this.
Along
Concrete,
those lines.
You can actually see is
done.
tiles
in.
So,
cabinets are hung. Boom,
right.
That's a milestone.
Right. The plumbing.
Here's a check for whatever it is. Right.
Right. The demo's done. Because again, starting out. So demo's done. Cool. You can see that. You can walk through and be like, yes, everything's out of the house.
Right.
It's all ripped out. Then you can actually physically see, a plumber has been in, and there's new connections. You can physically see that. Then
So, Mike, we're on the same train of
Yeah.
thought. Let's put that into audio so everyone listening can understand. So, guys, when you're working with contractors, don't pay them hourly necessarily. Try to put a timeline together and put as little as money up front as you can. Because I get a lot of people that are getting burned, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and if they require money up front, then that's okay. Try to put it into the materials, because that's something that you can go pick up yourself if you're new and deliver and know what's going on. You're also going to save money if you're buying the materials, because they're going to typically mark that stuff up. But have a timeline like Mike suggests, and put it in writing. You know, when they get to a certain point that they get X amount, and then when they get to the next milestone, they're going to get X amount, and try to structure your payment to where it's back heavy, where as they get farther along, they get bigger and more amounts of money, ideally. Now, some guys aren't going to work without getting something down, and Mike, that's just going to happen. You know, try to pay as least as you can. But really the goal is, when you're working with contractors, is to build a relationship. Just like we talk about with motivated sellers, we're trying to make a friend and build a relationship. You know, you want it to be a win-win. You can't be rehabbing houses and have a contractor that's losing money every time. Like, he's not going to be in business for very long. Everybody's got to eat. So you got to understand that. But prevent yourself from getting taken. That's really the goal here. Because that's what I'm seeing the most, is people getting taken.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if they're virtually investing, or they work a full-time job or even 2 jobs and they're doing this on the side. They don't have time to manage these people. And depending on how much you're paying, that's how much management you're going to have to add. If you're not paying very much, you're going to have to stay on these people. If you're paying a lot for a quality contractor with lots of reviews, you know, that has a ton of business in the area, you're going to pay a lot more for that guy, but they're going to be more reliable. So while we're on this topic, Mike, I want to talk about the 3 things that come with every contractor, right? Price, quality, and time. Pick 2.
Always. Yeah.
So you want to explain that to everyone?
Absolutely. It's think of it as like a triangle or whatever. You can't get all 3. You can't get a low price, high quality, and what was the third one?
Time, quality, and
quickly
cost.
Yeah, finish very quickly. So if you pay somebody a whole lot of money, there's a pretty good chance they're going to be a higher quality, and they're going to be able to do it faster. But that just doesn't. It's not realistic to expect
all 3. You're not going to get a cheap product that's a high quality done very fast. It's not going to happen, right? But pick 2, guys. You can always have 2: time, quality, and cost. So that's really what it comes down to whenever you're picking your contractor. You know, in some of our rental projects, time isn't as important as, you know, a good quality and a low cost. So we're willing to sacrifice. We also have to have seasoning built in sometimes for the rentals of 3, 4, 5, 6 months. So if the project doesn't need to be done right away, then we'll choose somebody that can do it for cheaper.
That's a really good point, dude.
Yeah, man, absolutely. If we're doing a flip, time is of the essence, because we're sometimes paying 12, 14% interest on our money to buy and rehab. So we're, you know, maybe not sacrificing the quality, but we're going to pay a little more. That's the cost that comes in. So we want it done good. We want it done fast. It's going to cost a little bit more, but it's better to do that, because that little bit more cost is going to be less than a crazy interest rate, right? So there's always scenarios where you're going to want to pick 2, but you really can't have 3, right? You just can't. It just doesn't make sense for somebody to provide a crazy amount of value to you and charge you a low amount of money and get it done overnight. Like, it's just, that doesn't add up.
Okay, so I want to just kind of recap or just make it very clear what my suggestion is on how to pay contractors. And I think yours as well.
Yeah, please, man.
Is, like we said, you want to put as little down or as little up front as possible. You want to pay heavy on the back end. What does that mean? Well, one, you're going to draw up a scope of repairs. You absolutely have to have something in writing with your contractors to prevent yourself from getting burned. That's the whole objective here, is to make it fair between you and the contractor. Like Dave said, they got to eat too. They're doing this for a living.
It's got to be a win-win.
Hopefully you've got somebody who's a reputable person or trying to, build a
and over
business.
time, you'll be willing to pay more to not even have to go to the project. And that's kind of how some of ours are. We sacrifice cost, but we get it done at a good quality and fast. But we pay a lot, right? But at this point in Mike and I's investing careers and our journey, we're doing 12 projects at a time. So it's like, I can't go to every project every day. I can maybe get to every project every week, maybe, but even that. So you just get people that you trust, and you pay a little bit more, and the stuff gets done. But in the beginning, things may be different.
So scope of work.
Yep.
So draw up a scope of work. Either have your contractor or you do it, or you guys are going to do it together. You'll go back and forth on it. We still do this with some of our newer contractors. Say, oh, we can do this for this, and then we go back and forth and say, well, if we take off this, So again, you're going back and forth with your scope of work. I suggest 25% up front. No more than 25% up front, and you can pay for materials. Like Dave said, you can save money if you're shopping the materials yourself. Also, you should be involved in your rehab. If this is your one project going on, you probably want to go pick out the finished materials.
Yeah,
and
you
you
should.
want to work a little bit more hand in hand with the contractor, and they're going to expect that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, materials is kind of tricky, though, because the contractor thinks about all the materials that go into it. Oh, I've got to buy drywall, I've got to buy paint, I've got to buy screws, finish nails, all this stuff. So you want to put that out there as well. If they buy something, they can provide you a receipt to have that reimbursed. So there's certain things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So 25% plus materials. Then after a certain milestone, kind of like we talked about, it could be the demo and the rough finish work. So again, that means walls are up and some of the stuff is in, but it's not finished. So that would be maybe you pay another 25%. Then upon completion, pay the remaining balance. Again, it just kind of depends on the size, scope of the project, what they're willing to float out there. But that is my suggestion. Put it in writing. Have it clearly indicated who's paying for what, and have progress milestones as opposed to just straight time milestones for your payments.
That's right.
So don't cut the final check. Your contractor's always anxious to get that last check. Don't cut that last check until you go and walk the property. And don't just walk it willy-nilly, too. If this is a new contractor and it's a little bit, test everything. Flush the toilet. Turn the sinks on. Go down in the basement. Make sure there's no leaks. I mean, again, guys, double check all this stuff because this is your only chance to do it. You're probably gonna sell that house or have a tenant move in, and they're gonna be playing with this stuff every day.
Right.
So they're gonna find the stuff that didn't
make
work.
yourself familiar with what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
In the
So
house,
go
for
in,
sure.
walk the house, take 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes walking through and checking and looking at everything.
Touch everything.
Then cut that final check, and that's how you avoid getting yourself into trouble with paying contractors.
I agree.
I think that's probably the quick summary of it.
Yep.
Scope of work, define milestones, check everything before you pay.
Yep.
Done.
Love it.
So
So before we even get to the contractor, we're going to kind of want to know our own repairs. And that's another question that kind of goes hand in hand with this is how to estimate repairs. Mike and I love using REHAB Estimator Pro. It's an online tool that helps estimate the repairs. Basically, Matt Hedstrom, one of my good buddies, he's the creator of REHAB Estimator Pro, and he's created a software to where you can use this anywhere in the country. You can adjust your prices up or down as needed. But quite frankly, a piece of lumber at a Home Depot in Nevada isn't much different than one in New Jersey. It's relatively the same. The only thing that's going to vary the most is going to be the labor in that area, maybe the taxes on those materials in that area. But the materials themselves are relatively the same cost. And he built this because he wanted his bookkeeper, literally somebody that knew nothing about real estate, to be able to go on an appointment and get an accurate repair estimate in 15 minutes or less. So guys, check out rehabestimatorpro.com. Use code DPI, and that will give you actually 66% off this product. And the reason we love it and that we're talking about it today is because it helps estimate repairs. And you can do this literally by walking around the house and clicking little check boxes of what the property needs and typing in the square footage. It actually really helps estimate your ARV, and then it does the repairs in real time. But here's really where it gets exciting is it creates that scope of work once you estimate your repairs. And then that scope of work can actually be used to go into an agreement with a contractor. That scope of work can actually be, what you're hiring them to do. And if there's things that need to be added, then you can go in and you can add them. And then you can then also establish a timeline on how you're going to pay that contractor from that scope of work. So that's really one of the coolest parts of REHAB Estimator Pro is, yes, it helps estimate the rehab and the repairs, but it also helps you generate the scope of work, and it creates an offer based upon the ARV and the repair estimate. So it's got a calculator that helps you send offers to motivated sellers. It helps you use the the repair estimate to create a scope of work, and an agreement to actually go into a contract to get those repairs done with the contractor. And then last but not least, it has some really cool tools about helping you justify your offer as being a fair offer versus a low offer, because it has a seller's net sheet that's built in. So guys, go check it out. Rehab Estimator Pro. It's basically the simplest and easiest way, and really the only way that I've found that truly works to estimate your repairs. Anybody can do it. You can learn how to use the software in less than 20 minutes, and you can go and you can walk an entire house and come up with a very accurate repair estimate in less than 15 minutes. Again, Rehab Estimator Pro. So that's really our secret weapon that we use to determine our repairs, create our scopes of work, and basically we'll send our contractor our scope of work. He'll go out and he'll look at the property. He may make a couple notes of things that we need to add, which, great. We need to make sure that we're being fair with these people, right? And then we'll add those things in or remove certain things. And that's it. That's the price that we're willing to pay right there. And if there's overage, then we'll figure that out in the end. And then we basically have our own timeline on how we pay these guys. So that's really what it comes down to. There's really not there's a couple ways to go about, determining your repairs, of course, as well as paying your contractor. But Mike and I like to just keep things simple. Less is more. So Rehab Estimator Pro is really what we do and use to determine them, create scopes of work, and make offers. And then from there, we just modify. And that's really it.
Yeah, so the tool is really neat, guys. We have off-the-cuff ways of estimating repairs, and we've done that for years. And we usually come in a little bit light.
We always come in a little light that way.
I look at all my projects, and you can look at some of our case studies that we do, and it's like, we came in about $5,000 light. We came in. So when we started implementing this and using a tool for it, we're so much closer to the actual number. It's astonishing. So yeah, check it out. Again, you can use the off-the-cuff methods, absolutely. But again, to get something in writing, this types it up for you. Like Dave said, puts it all together in a scope of work, helps you do that much more quickly. Yeah, it's definitely hands down the way to do it.
It's a game changer. So guys, that's how to estimate your repairs, and that is how you should pay a contractor. You need to have a scope of work. If you don't have a scope of work and you're paying a contractor, you're going to be throwing money away, or you're going to be getting robbed because you're not going to really know what you're paying for and on what timeline. So that's very, very important to have a scope of work. And then, of course, an agreement with that contractor. So don't prepay your contractor all up front. Don't even give them half up front. At a minimum, 25%. But if you can get away with paying weekly or even based upon a timeline, that's going to be the way to go. We really don't want to see you guys get burned by contractors. But you got to also understand, not everyone is out there to get you. There's a lot of reputable people that do this work day in and day out. They have a lot of positive reviews, and ask for references. That's another good thing that I didn't even really think of. But when you're hiring somebody, ask for references. Call those people. Ask them how their timeline went with that, most recent job that they did with that guy, and how it went with the pay. And, are they happy in the end, or are they upset? Do they feel like they got taken or overpaid? Just talk to people. It's really that simple. So, guys, we hope you learned how to estimate repairs, as well as how to pay a contractor and set up that agreement. That was one of the questions that we got sent to us to make a podcast on. So I think our secret weapon here, and this is the takeaway, is go over to rehabestimatorpro.com, use code DPI, and that's going to save you 66% on this service. Not only is it going to help accurately estimate repairs, but it's also going to create a scope of work and a seller's net sheet, which is going to be used with your contractor and your seller to justify those repairs. A lot of times, too, sellers will want to get involved in the process of estimating repairs. So you can just use an iPad or your phone even, or give it to them. I've even done it where I've given it to them, and we walk around the house, and I'll say, "What do you think about the trim?" And they'll say, "Yeah, the dog chewed it up a little bit." So they click that little button, and then we go into the bathroom, and I say, "Okay, looks good. It's dated, though. I mean, wouldn't you agree that we're going to need a vanity and a toilet and probably a shower surround?" And I agree. They click those buttons, and they are adding up those repairs. And then they hand you the phone back, and it says $36,400, and they can't really argue. They can't say, "Oh, I can do it for $20." Well, not really. We just looked at every little item. So
Rehab Estimator Pro, guys, go check it out. DPI is the code. Save 66%. You guys are going to be a pro at estimating repairs and hiring contractors in no time. I'm confident. Signing off. Thanks for listening to the Discount Property Investor Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to help us reach a wider audience. To jumpstart your real estate investing career, please visit freewholesalecourse.com, the most complete free course on wholesaling real estate ever. We would also appreciate it if you left us a review on iTunes or Stitcher. Thank you in advance for your support, and remember, you make your money when you buy, and you get paid when you sell. Now let's go build some wealth.